In this video, we're going to do a case study on how my company generated a little over $72,000 in a 3-month time frame through wholesaling real estate. My name is Maher. I'm a full-time real estate investor, and I have a few HUDs in front of me just to show you guys proof that I'm actually a full-time real estate investor, and we did generate this kind of income just with one house in around 3.5-month time frame. So as you can see here, the top screenshot is from the is a HUD from the time that we purchased the property. As you can see here, Maher Capital LLC. It's my LLC. My first name is Maher, so it's kind of not too many people are named Maher. That is my LLC. We did purchase the property for $232,000 here. As you can see, it's right here, $232,000, and we bought it on June 26, 2023. It's in North Las Vegas, 89032. And then we sold that property on September 15th, 2023. Maher Capital LLC again. We sold it for $348,000, and we gave the seller, the buyer, a $7,500 credit for the property. So after fees and everything, we netted a little over $72,000 on the property. And the reason I'm showing these HUDs, not to brag or anything, just for proof to show you guys that I can actually talk about this topic and that we do this business every single day. And right before I get into kind of how we did it, I just wanted to go over why does this work and why I think it's a great industry to be in. So real estate has the ability to capture a ton of equity. And what I mean by that is, the average priced home here in Las Vegas is around $450,000. And it's kind of the only high ticket item that's in the huge hundreds of thousands of dollars. Besides cars, cars is kind of the only thing that can come close, but real estate's, way better. And it's still not regulated. I do think in the future wholesaling will be regulated because of this, how it has a lot of equity for us to capture as salespeople. For example, on a $450,000 house, if I'm offering 50%, my offer is going to be $225,000. That leaves me around $225,000 spread to negotiate. Obviously, the chances of the seller accepting an offer that low are really rare, but it happens every single day all over the country. And then the other reason is that you need very little upfront capital to get started. For example, when I got started, the only thing I had was a Google Voice account, a laptop, and PropStream. PropStream was $97 a month. And once I got my first deal, I invested that money into more software and more marketing material. And then another reason, dude, who spelled these things? And then another reason is that we're targeting people that are likely to sell their property. So how does this work? The very first thing that you're going to want to do is find a buyer in your area. And the reason why I say that we want to find a buyer in the area and not just find nationwide buyers is because I think it's best that we can go out to the properties, talk to the sellers in person, and see the property in person. I think that's very, very important, and I think that'll give you a better edge versus somebody the seller's talking to that's in another state. So once we find a buyer, and the way we're going to find buyers in our area, my favorite way is through Facebook. So what we're going to want to do is type in real estate investing, then your city. So mine, it's going to be real estate investing, Las Vegas. Then what we're going to do is we're obviously like right away, we're going to see a ton of buyers. I'm looking for deals. We can go check the comments of people that are trying to sell deals. Oh, I'll buy it. I'll buy this. I'll buy this. Send me the details. And we're just going to want to reach out to those buyers and say, hey, what kind of properties are you buying? And then they're going to tell us, what kind of properties they're looking for. For example, we always like to look for properties that are 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and built after 1990. And we're going to put all of that criteria into a software called PropStream. It's basically a data source for real estate investors. We're going to put that into PropStream. Then PropStream is going to give us a list of homeowners. We're going to want to skip those records, and we can do that in PropStream. Skip trace, all it means is it's going to give us the phone numbers for the records. Then we're going to want to call or text the homeowners. I like to call and text them because a lot of the times they're not going to answer. So if right after they don't answer, I'm going to text them and say, hey, this is Maher. I was reaching out about 123 Main Street. Are you thinking about selling? Or would you even consider an offer on the property? 99% is going to say no, but 1% will say yes. So we're going to have to, out of 60 people that do want an offer on their property, we're going to get 1 contract. So out of 60 people that say yes, they want an offer, we're going to have to talk to 60 of them, give them offers, and then 1 person will say yes. That's kind of the industry average right now currently. When I started, it was a little bit less, but this is getting a little bit, the space is getting more competitive. And that's why you guys need to jump on it ASAP because, a lot of people are making money in this business. So once you give them a verbal offer, they accept it. You're going to want to get we're going to write up a purchase agreement between you and the seller. And we're going to call this contract A. There's two contracts that you need in this business to get these deals done. Contract A between you and the seller, and then contract B between you and the buyer. So once the seller, you're going to fill out the contract, send it to them via DocuSign. It's a software online that, they can just press a button and then sign their signature through email. Once they get that accepted, you're going to go tell the buyer, hey, I got this property under contract. You said you're looking for these kind of properties and you're going to pay this much. And we're going to figure out how much actually the buyer is going to pay during this verbal offer stage. So we're going to reach out to the buyer and say, hey, this seller wants an offer on their property. I think it's a good property. It fits your criteria. What would you be willing to pay? And this is how we're going to get our offer. So once we reach out to the buyer and they're going to tell us, hey, we're going to pay X amount, for example, 300,000, we're going to go ahead and negotiate with the seller. For example, if you want to make 10,000, you're going to offer the seller 290,000. But right off the bat, I would offer the seller 250,000, which gives us a lot of room, $50,000 worth of room to negotiate up to, because they're more than likely not going to take our first offer, which is exactly what we want. We want them to say no to our first offer, and then for us to creep up a little bit. And then hopefully they, say yes to somewhere around 270 to 280, so you guys can make a whopping, $20,000 to $30,000 on each deal. So once we get both of those contracts between you and the buyer and then you and the seller, you're going to want to give both of those contracts to the title company. And then on closing day, what's going to happen is the buyer is going to wire the funds to the title company for $300,000. And then they're going to give the seller whatever you negotiated that price. So for $280,000. So they're going to give the seller $280,000 and give you the $20,000 difference. And that's how you're going to collect your check. And a lot of limiting beliefs that I see, a lot of new investors trying to reach out to me saying, hey, they want to start investing, they just don't know. The limiting beliefs that they have is they think they need a ton of capital upfront to start. And it is true, when you are flipping properties, you do need a lot of upfront capital. But this is not flipping. We're not flipping the actual house here. We're just flipping the contract of the property. We're controlling the rights of the property, and then we're going around and selling it right away. And also another question I get asked a ton is, what if I don't find a buyer? And that's totally okay. If you don't find a buyer, all you have to do is back out of the contract. In that contract, there's going to be a clause in there where it gives you X amount of days for due diligence. So what you're going to want to put is at least a 14-day due diligence period. If you can't find a buyer in 14 days, you back out. You don't lose any money. The seller can go try to sell it to somebody else, and you can go find another property to buy if you don't find a buyer. It's that simple. It's that easy. And yeah, I can show you guys, reach out to me. If you want to learn how to do this, I can show you guys, how to do this with a low budget, mid budget, even a high budget. And obviously, the bigger the budget you have, the faster you're going to get realize profit, just because you're going to be able to buy leads, spend money on marketing, spend money on software. But don't get discouraged if you don't have any money to start out with, because if you really put your head down and work in this industry, you can make a ton of money. If you're on the phones every day, you can make a ton of money in this business. Like, I've seen sales guys from other industries, for example, like solar, door knocking, pest control, come into this industry, and these guys are having $100,000 months left and right because they're very good at sales. Yeah, if you want to learn how to do this, book a call. There's a link down below. You'll talk to me or somebody from my team, and we'll come up with a custom plan, so how we can, get you started and, take off in this industry. Thank you guys for listening.